And uh, what I'll do is I'm not a psychic, and I won't play psychic.
Mhm.
Uh, I uh, I sometimes see things, and maybe I get it from my grandmother, or maybe that was what I was born into. My grandmother was a true seer, and she can look at someone and tell, even if she didn't know them, store clerk or anything, and tell them their totality of their past, their current, and their potential future. And maybe I got a one drop of the ocean of that within myself, and I don't
Was-
refer to it as psychic. I'm
Somewhere
sorry.
I read that our mother is our first karmic manifestation in this life.
I don't. What do you know what that means?
Well, my mother, she had an experience of having God talk to her through a blade of grass.
Wow.
Yeah. She was thinking of, she had three young kids and a husband who wasn't as educated as she would have liked. And it was almost too much for her. And she was thinking of suicide, I guess, at the time. And God spoke to her through a blade of grass.
Wow.
That's that. So, so I don't know, your grandmother, and there's something going on in
Yeah.
that incarnation that brought you to her or whatever. I don't know.
Sure. Yeah. The soul, it kind of dictates the path
Hmm.
of what our generalized experience is coming into. And it's for us to recognize those little patterns of the soul that is presenting to us to, the awkwardnesses in our life or the greatnesses of life. The soul has, brought us into these things in order to recognize other things about ourselves, uh, in order for us to get to know ourselves. And everything that we meet, everything that happens with us, um, all these dynamics, they're there for us to get to know ourselves. Things that we do, things that we think of, things that we write about, whatever. Things that we're having conversations with, dynamic situations, subtle situations, whatever. Our whole life has developed into those things in order for us to get to know ourselves. And it's all flowing into everything. It's all teaming together. Once we recognize something, then it's kind of made subtle within our soul. We no longer have to address it if we can recognize that within ourself, whatever the dynamic is, the emotional response or the exacerbated response or whatever. You know. And but it's taking time to take notice of what are we going through and what am I reacting to, and or what am I involved with in my life. That uh, are all the that's all the presentations of the soul coming forth for us to get to know ourselves. We're brought into situations. The soul doesn't make you go into your car and drive as a situation. We have our lives too, but the soul is always picking up where we left off in some way or another, and it'll come in softly, as I say it, or it'll come in an exacerbated way, uh, dramatic, gentle or dramatic, or anything in between. But we're always involved with in the important things in getting to know ourselves in just about any situations. And it's that's where we become dependent upon our reactions or no or just actions. We have a choice. We have a choice in life. As we take a look at what we're involved with in any given moment, if we're very objective and observant, then we're not being reactive to something. We don't burst out crying from an emotional response, or We don't have to go through the dilemma, drama, and trauma of if we're not reacting. We can still feel the emotion, but the emotion is, to me, when I can apply it, which is not always, but when I can apply it, the emotion is the expression of the exhilaration of that divinity within ourselves. We take the emotion as something bad. It's just like saying grown men don't cry. Give me a break. You know, grown men do cry, and but it's coming. It's more pertinent as we uh, begin to recognize ourselves and in that indifferent way, not not a cold way, but indifferent through the objective observation, then we get to feel something of the exhilaration which grows us, which helps us to evolve into more of who we really are and what we really are and why we really are. And that's when things start to open in our evolution. Does that almost make sense, Kathy? Mm.
Perfectly.
Okay. All right, cool. Michael, any questions about that or Susan? I wanted to say Kathy for Susan, but you're not Kathy.
Yeah, yeah, I do. You're talking about emotions being that driver of evolution, right?
Yes,
That's
yes.
nice. That's a nice way to put it. I like that.
Yeah. It's stopping ourselves when or catching ourselves, not stopping ourselves, but catching ourselves in the act of an emotional response or after the fact of the emotional response. It's
Hmm.
catching ourselves and recognizing the emotional response, the earthly emotional response, the archaic response, which is not bad, but it's just the way that we've learned since being in the womb and from other times and other places responses. And then we're here to work those things out and we work them out by recognizing them, recognizing and turning the scenario around. All right, if I'm having a dilemma, drama, or trauma, what made me like this? Where did I learn this? That's the greatest question. Where did I
Hmm.
learn this? And we'll reflect back, if we're honest with ourselves, we'll reflect back to this time, this place, say a few years ago, or when we were children and we began the pattern of that, because that's what created the emotional response, either in hurting us or hurting someone else, or someone else, doing a number on us in some way or another and or witnessing something with other people doing something or reading about something or hearing about something. And that's where we learn to be who we are, what we are, why we are today, right now. And so those things affected us. We have that experience, say in the childhood at the age of 9 or whatever, or let's say the age of 7, if anyone can relate to that. The age of 7, when something we were living our lives and we thought the way we thought and everything was we thought was going great, then all of a sudden someone said something or we witnessed something, and then all of a sudden it caught our attention. That left an impression within us, a total impression. And so maybe a couple weeks later or a couple years later, it happened again. And that made it more of a solid foundation. And then again, a few years later or a couple weeks later, it happened again. So that's where it became a solid loop within us that we learned how to identify with the world. All these things are affecting us into us today. And the idea is, and the soul has led us into these understandings because the soul carries the experience. That's the purpose and function of the soul. It's for our experience to recognize. And therefore, we're going to go through all these things continually, and we've been going through them continually uh, in order to find that out, to witness that within ourselves. And that's what witnessing is, it's seeing it. So we're going through these experiences, and now we have an opportunity to catch ourselves and say, whoa, where did I learn that? And we'll go back to that time. And once we witness it without the emotional response, which is what created it, that left the impression, that struck us in the heart or in the tissues of our body and mind, that's in witnessing it, seeing it objectively and observantly, then the back of that particular situation is broken, and we no longer have to work with that. But the neat thing is, after so many times of existence, if you were an advocate of reincarnation, after so many times of experiencing it, say 5 to 8 times approximately, who knows? Uh, if we don't get it, and in every presentation and in every life, eventually in all different ways, all different scenarios each time, then it's stripped from our soul and we don't have to worry about it. So why bother? You know, that's my uh, understanding. Go ahead,
What
Michael.
about, well, yeah, what about positive experiences or,
Same thing.
emotions,
Yeah,
positive emotions?
the positive, I don't give credence to positive or negative. I don't believe they exist, only in magnetics. In my life, my perceptions, I see them as constructive or destructive.
Okay. Well, constructive then, or they're
Yeah, and
constructive emotional imprints.
literally, and
Yeah.
that's when we're giving exaltation to something other than ourself.
Is
Because
that the qualifier? Is it only that way?
yeah, and we're talking about the earthly self here, the simple self. And we're not talking about our truer self within. And as we acknowledge that,
Mm.
there's more glorification. We give glorification to it, and there's more activity from it because we're giving credence to it, and we're giving permission, filling up the void where something was destructive before, or not given credence to at all. But once we acknowledge that this is here, this is the center of the universe, our universe. This is our life that gives us life. And this carries everything within us. This is like a cell within the mind of God in this vast ocean of many, 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 many universes. But we're talking about our universe, which is huge. We can't even quantify it. And because that's always expanding in the mind of itself as well. So here we are giving uh, an understanding, a submission of ourself to this. And that's what really matters. That's no different than when we're wondering about something. We don't know. We don't know. That's why we're wondering about something. And then all of a sudden in the shower or doing the dishes, you have an aha moment because something is shared with us from within us, if that makes sense. And it's the same thing in wondering about something, which is the key to contemplation and or meditation. We're submitting ourselves to something of a greater nature to feed us, to share with us. That's giving glorification to it. That's giving the acknowledgement to it. And the more we do that in that vein of understanding, then it has more to share with us. I hope that
Mm.
answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah. Thanks.
sure, sure. Otherwise, unless we're learning how to get answers in our life and how to do things in our life, we're coming from a vociferous place. We're coming from a place of uh, uh, just logic or feelings. Not to demean those because they have a place too. And it's also coming from a place of self-edification. and small self submission, and it's not going to be real. If we're coming from a place of, wonderment and relying on it, that's going to share more with us that way, and we find ourselves growing. Otherwise, we're going to use everything else in the world outside of ourselves, thinking that we're growing from that. Even our thinking, if we base everything that's based upon the world's impressions, it's really a nowhere street in the long run, in my understandings. And everyone's going to have different understandings about that, which is fine.
Yeah.
So the idea is to recognize ourself, and if we fall away from self, it's remembering it. It's bringing the members back. We never lose anything. We only put it aside. It's not possible to lose anything. We only put it aside when we're talking about the spirituality. Cool. Any questions about that? Comments?
Well, I find it interesting that this reminds me of like a dream where you have some scary thing that you can either decide to run away from or face it. And if you run away, you just have to keep running away. Like there's nothing else you can do. But if you face it, usually something magical happens in the dream. Like you don't
Yeah.
really know what that's going to be, but it's always really interesting if you can make yourself just stand there.
Yes. Yes. And facing it, because it's only a ghost of our past, a ghost of our experience. And we wouldn't be able to identify it with anything unless we had the experience of it. It's just not possible. Either reading about it, hearing other people talk about it, or watching it. We had the experience of it. And so the dreams that we have are there from the so-called other side. They, in quotation marks, presented to us, and that's where the mind is translated into the mind, and then the brain, and then we're identifying with it because it's been our experience, and it's our experience to observe it. It can't hurt us. The ghosts can't hurt us, but they're what made us into who we are, what they are, and why we are today. But though they can't hurt us, there are the ghosts of our life. And if it's something scary, then we wouldn't be able to identify with it otherwise, even though we think, oh, I don't think like that. Everything that you've thought of has formed thinking like that, or situations in our life has created that ghost in some way or another that we're facing. But if you stand there and observe it, you'll see that it cannot touch you, no matter how real it is. It's not possible. It's just like opening up. I always give this analogy: opening up a closet door, and it's totally black in there, dark. You can't see into it, and that darkness is the mind of fear in some representation. Well, and we are afraid of going in, we have to flick on a switch. Where did the darkness go? It dissipates. It's non-existent in that moment. It's the same thing with us. We all have that Christos, that light, the sun within us. We all have the Christos, the Christ within us. And it's recognizing it. And we also have what the order used to say, stand in the light of Christ, whatever. And, we have that within us already. It's an integral part of us. There's no removing it. Yeah, Mike.
Um, the way Susan was describing the way that we face the demons, so to speak, in our dreams, um, I find that facing my emotions in that way too, rather than trying to
Yep.
run away from them or suppress them.
Yeah.
And I find that if I don't resist the emotion, then it passes through me.
But is it gone forever, or do you repeat the emotions?
Well, I'm of two minds about that
I
because
know. I see.
I need my emotions, right? My emotions are messengers to me.
Sure, they are. But
Yeah,
the emotions are also there to uh, give us a guidance and direction in order to observe them and to see the reality, the validity of them. And are we just constantly acting out on the emotion, which keeps it going to another
right,
time,
right,
another place?
right.
And this way, we get to look at the emotion. If we're looking at it truly objectively and observantly, there's no emotional reaction.
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
then,
yeah,
yeah,
I get that part. And I think what you were saying about the way emotions embed themselves in the soul, um, creating those reactive patterns.
yeah,
Um,
and
yeah,
they're constant.
yeah. But
And,
what I'm feeling is that if I resist the emotion, then that almost causes that embedding. But if I
yes,
don't resist it, then there's no real imprint that takes place.
but
It,
there's a repeat of it.
well, um, yeah, I feel my emotions are repeatable.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you.
But again, I feel like that's part of life, you know, that's,
Yeah, and it is a part of life,
yeah.
but we also have the availability to take that and to become more real in our emotion once we objectively, what I'm alluding to is that as we objectively and observantly observe that, where did I learn that emotion? If it feels
Yes, yes.
awkward
Yeah,
or if
no,
it
I get it.
bothers,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
And where did I learn it? And then uh, for that particular aspect of our life, the emotional aspect of our life, of that particular dynamic, the that emotion is kind of relieved and it dissipates, and we now have the experience of it that turns into the wisdom of it.
Hmm.
Because all
Yeah,
experience turns into wisdom.
yeah. If you have the emotion and then the pattern that the emotion flows through. So the pattern really is what gets
Yeah,
embedded
broken.
on the soul, right?
Yes. And then,
Would you say that?
yeah, it's the pattern that creates the emotion. Because if we've had it once, we've had it many times,
Mm,
or else we wouldn't be able to have that.
mm.
It wouldn't be stable otherwise within us. We have that emotion because we've had it many other times in other ways and other forms.
Okay.
So it's taking a look at that emotion, and when it feels awkward or we recognize it, oh, I just had an emotional response to something, whatever you come up with for the reason for that, then as we observe it objectively and ask ourselves, okay, globule of emotion, I see you. You're right there within me, and you're acting out within me. Where did I learn this? And what we'll do is we'll go back, let's say, to a few years later where we learned it, or as a younger person as we learned it, and we'll see where we learned that from when we first had a response to something of a similar nature that we're having a response today. And uh, in other words, that's still embedded within you, that response. That response is still embedded within us. So the idea is, okay, how is this affecting my life in other ways? And you'll
Mm,
see that it's like a spider web going to various aspects of our life, which is really
yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
Because we got to witness that, and it's like a mind blower. It's like a enlightenment that happens. But as another situation in the future starts to come up in the potential future, where we would normally have that emotion, we would find that we wouldn't have that response anymore.
Yeah. Well, what you're just talking about, it's very inspiring. It's leading me to look at emotions differently, and
It shapes our
and
lives. Yeah.
yeah, and to distinguish between the emotion itself and the pattern and patterns of reaction.
Yeah.
You know.
That's all embedded within each other. The emotions, if we look at any of our reactions of how we function in life,
Hmm.
those reactions, then we'll see how the emotion was embedded and turned us into who we are, what we are, why we are today in our speaking, in our thinking, in our feeling, and our activities. The emotions are almost part of the base of us.
How would you like? Can you give an example of a specific emotion, say like sadness?
Yeah. Oh God, I love sadness. Sadness, I love sad. I want to be sad.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
oh, I forgot all
Let's
about
get
that.
sad
Damn.
together.
Yeah. Uh, so with the sadness, say I used to listen to my parents argue. It was a control trip each of them were giving each other all the time. And I mean, they were just yelling at each other constantly, and it really affected me in my belly. And one day, my mother came downstairs to my room, and she saw me on the ground in the fetal position, and I was so emotionally upset with that. In their arguing, knowing that I had no control over two adults, two big people, yeah, in their arguings and verbal abuses of each other, et cetera. And it kept going. They were all fighting for their lives and their causes or whatever. And but over the years, I recognized that, and I started to. Matter of fact, it was when I was, I think, my first year in the order that I would. I asked myself, "Oh, where did I learn to get my belly aches?" And then I kept going back and back and back, and I saw, oh, I kept getting it from there. I was in a fetal position on the ground. My mother came into my room and saw me there. And but I also saw not only the physiological and biological, and neurological, and everything else, but I saw how that made me want to um, uh, be in control of not even a relationship, just women and uh, 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 and and verbalize and deceive with abuse, mental and emotional, and wanting to conquer. I got to witness that, and that was just a part of my life back then until I witnessed that in going back. Then all of a sudden, it started to dissipate to where I no longer had uh, even the thoughts that brought me to the critical mass of doing those things.
Mhm.
It was just immediate. It was quite interesting, and I got to witness that. And you get to see it in in situations that people express or questions that they ask or whatever. But the because it's our experience that turns into wisdom. That's one example. Other examples, I knew that, say, someone had a cold, and uh, I and I heard a teacher, uh, uh, addressing this one brother who always had a cold, and it was Brother David, and he was in the chapel, and I snuck up on him in the chapel. I didn't sneak up on him. I wanted to go to chapel, and he was the only one in it on Saturday. And so here's Brother David, not knowing that I was in the room and walking in. His arms are out, and he says, "Oh God, make me pure, make me pure." And in turn, he always had a cold. I never knew him not to have a cold. And so the teacher's addressing him in the hallway and out of the blue, and he said, "Brother David, how come you always have a cold?" And it shocked him. He didn't even realize, he was uh,
Mhm.
he was asking for purity all the time, and so God was giving him purity. And he thought. And so he acted it out that way that was conducive for his life. And so then I realized the next day he no longer had the cold for the first time that I had known him for all those months. And so it affects us that way as well. So I figured, okay, that's so cool. I grew up knowing that everyone got a cold. Everyone talked about getting colds. Everyone had colds at different times. And mine was every quarter of the year. So I figured, okay, if that worked for Brother David, a teacher telling him, well, how come you have he called him out. Why do you have a cold, Brother David? All the time, all the time. And so I figured, okay, why can't I do something like that for myself? So I don't want a cold anymore every quarter of the year. And I saw myself, I didn't want, so I had to have a picture of what I didn't want. And I saw myself without a cold. And then next quarter came around. I didn't have a cold. The physical symptoms of the cold, the snifflings and the sore throat and the headaches and a runny nose, etc. But, and a sluggish head. But I did feel that there was something inside of me that was a cold. Didn't know what it was, but I felt it. And so 10 years later, I'm thinking, okay, I'm no longer having a cold. Then, and I was able to get rid of that for that time. Why do I even have to have the symptoms knowing that I have a cold without the symptoms? And so I wondered about that. I was so curious. But when we're curious about something, we're asking the
Yeah.
divinity, the godliness.
Right. When you really have a question, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or something important you want to feel.
Yeah.
And it comes upon us, whatever that is. And when it comes upon us, then we're no longer, we find ourselves no longer participating in that. So from then on, I never had the sense that I had a cold, even if I didn't have the symptoms.
Yeah. So the brother that always had a cold, the teacher just drew his attention to it and asked him why,
Yeah.
which is probably something he had never even thought to ask himself, right?
Yes. And it was so impressive in me.
Hmm.
I
Yeah.
was, I was blown away by
Yeah.
witnessing that.
So it kind of gets back to what you were saying about observation.
Yes.
It,
Objective observation.
because the question by the teacher was kind of forced that objectivity in the brother,
Yes.
and probably maybe for the first time. And
Yes.
so my question is, uh, it sounds like chronic illness, like the brother having a cold, that could just be really nothing more than like a habit, right?
It's
Like
what we learn.
a repeating pattern, or just a
It's the
pattern
loop.
that we, right, the loop. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. The
And
body does need to cleanse, but why do we have to suffer?
right, but it does, but you can cleanse, and I mean, we don't have to get a cold. We can just let things go as they accumulate.
We can. And sometimes, and the order taught, you go through cleansings, which is fine,
Mm,
which is fine. But to what degree?
right, right. To what degree? How debilitating, and it seems to me like the debilitation would be
Uh,
proportional to how much we resist it or how much we hang on to stuff
yeah.
and then
And how
until we
much,
can't. Yeah,
yes, and how much exactly, and how much do we want to take a look at where we learned something?
yeah, yeah. Observation again. Well, that's kind of like a function
Yeah.
of observation.
But
Yeah,
it has to be objective observation without the emotional response or trying to fool something or someone.
right, right.
Because then it's not going to work. It's phony.
Mm,
And we're trying to control again. It's a control issue. That's the uh, earthly ego. That's the earthly self-edification in the control issues.
mhm. Wouldn't you say like control would often be caused by fear, or the desire to control would be caused by fear?
Yeah, we all have fear. We're born into it ever since, the embryonic fluid of the womb. We're brought into it from the mother's impressions, from her mother's impressions,
Yeah.
et
But I
cetera, et
mean,
cetera.
yeah,
It's a
I mean,
learned pattern.
like if the desire to control something, you either want to control it for creative purposes or out of fear, to
In
control it so it
reality,
doesn't hurt, right?
in a sense, but in another sense, why bother controlling anything except for ourselves?
Yeah, I'm not saying that that's a good thing. I'm saying that that's like how it works, right?
Yes.
That's what I'm.
That's what opens us up to the wondering even more so when we're out of control, when we're not in the control issue.
Mm,
That's what opens the wisdom of the divinity to come forth from us and to move through us and to saturate our minds and our bodies. Yeah, yeah, definitely, definitely.
yeah, definitely.
Otherwise, it's a control issue that is even unbeknownst to us.
Right. Yeah.
This is the human.
And that loop you're talking about.
Yes. Yeah.
Hmm.
And it's a learned pattern. But we have to go through that in order to recognize ourselves. It's like an evolutionary step
Yeah. Can you see the loop in a person?
at times,
Hmm.
not all the time. I don't look for it.
How do you break it?
In another person
Yeah.
or myself.
In another person.
Um, I will generally call them out on it, where to let them know, not all the time, but other times it's just it's always a nowadays it's always a conversational uh,
Yeah.
thing that I do. And I'll witness something, I'll see it because it's of my nature as well. That's how I can see
Right.
it.
Right.
And or else I wouldn't be able to identify with it. If it's none of my business, I won't recognize it.
Hmm.
I won't be shown.
Exactly.
So if it is like a calling out, in the old days, I used to burn people, I called it. And they would go through the gnashing of the teeth and going crazy inside themselves, knowing that someone else saw it. But the idea is to let them know when you're saying, or when you're saying something that pertains to another person, that it's breaking a pattern in them because you're using your word, your knowing in that. And they get to see in themselves, they get to witness in themselves a destructive pattern that it's not really hidden like they thought it was.
Yeah. Well, like what you
That's what
witnessed the
breaks,
brother. Yeah.
yeah. And
Yeah.
that's what, though I didn't call him out on it, David,
Right. Right.
uh,
But
but
you saw him
yeah,
go, oh, I didn't realize that
yeah, he was
that was
like
the
in
thing.
shock
Yeah.
because it was called out.
Right.
And when it's called out, then the person finds out that they're not the only one keeping that secret. Everyone else knows it. Even
Hmm.
people that we don't think know about it, there's common people. Everyone, even on the street, knows it, but they won't say
Yeah.
anything.
Right.
And it's not hidden anymore. Then the person freaks out inside,
Hmm.
not knowing what to do. And when we don't know what to do, that's when we have an opportunity to say, I I often use this for myself. When I witness myself doing something of a destructive nature or saying something in a destructive way or that's not real, then and even affecting other people, what I'll do is I talk to God. I say, forgive me. And I let go of a damn thing. Because I know if I ask for forgiveness, then I no longer have it. Because I'm asking a source, or whatever I call my source. I'll say, okay, take care of this source. Uh, I'm asking, forgive me. So if I'm really trusting that it's forgiving me, then I don't have to worry about it anymore. And then I find that the pattern is dissipated or broken, And every time it comes up again, it will feel awkward trying to replicate that pattern.
Yeah.
That simply.
Yeah. Well, I really like the way you said, where you asked yourself, where did I learn how to have a stomach ache? That
Yep.
that's pretty cool.
Yeah. And then I reflected back. I had it a couple years ago. I remember it was really bad. I thought I was going to have to go to the hospital like I did when I was a kid. They
Hmm.
rushed me to the hospital thinking I was dying. And I did die, in some sense. I died in a part of me that was carrying the emotional. It was just too much for me. It kept building and building and building until it hit critical mass. I ended up on the fetal position on the ground. But I reflected back from a few years ago, and then I remembered several years earlier than that, I had it again, or I had it initially, I thought. And
Yeah.
then I said, okay, when did I have it then before that? And I saw that I was 9 years old in a fetal position in my room in the basement. And I heard my parents arguing. And they constantly argued, so it hit a critical mass. I felt helpless, and it was in the belly, which is the seat of emotions.
Hmm.
And the back is the desert of emotions, the hidden stuff.
So this is mostly you're using this for chronic conditions. That,
You can use it for chronic. You can use it
mm,
for conversations people are having where they're really off base in some way or another, and you're just not jiving with it, or it's difficult to comprehend what they're talking about, or when they're telling you stories or trying to
mhm,
avoid letting someone know, oh, can he read my mind? I don't read minds. I can hear thinking sometimes, and I can see
mhm.
impressions.
Right, right.
I don't read minds.
Mm.
And one person in my book, I talk about Diane and Patricia and how they found me, basically. And one day, Diane said to me, "Oh, I read you." I was saying something. She says, "I read you like a book underwater," and it was the truth to that,
A book underwater.
Yeah, that's how she perceived what I was
Mm, mm,
thinking and what I was,
mm.
everything.
So, Mark, can I
Yes.
interrupt?
Oh, of course.
I spent about 4 hours with my two sisters today, and
Cool.
we worked on a little craft project, and it required some sewing skills and not much. When I was small, my mother had a little cards that had holes in them, and you took a piece of yarn and you went through all the holes and created a. My sister was always so much better than I at that, and I developed a inferiority complex when it comes to anything like
What
sewing.
a complex life you have. Go ahead.
So I'm just wondering where in my body that would be stored. That feeling of and she is a master embroiderer. She's very craftsy, and both my sisters are crafty, and
Yeah.
I can draw a stick figure. So
I think the idea is that um, it's not that uh,
and it's in my stomach right now, like you say. Can I breathe?
yeah. You know what you
Okay.
could do to clean it out pretty good? And this isn't about healing or anything like that. I don't want to get into in this class or the gathering. It's not really class, it's gathering. And very freely ask information like we're doing. Uh, a really great dynamic that you can do in practice is when you're feeling that or you're identifying with your inferiority,
Yes.
feeling inferior in any way with any person or situation, imagine just breathing in It's written in the great book, God
Yeah.
breathed through the nostrils of man and woman, gave him life. Well, if that's true, we're breathing in God. We're breathing the breath of God. And if that's true, God's breathing for us. If we're really breathing in the breath of God, then we're breathing it in. We're getting life. That's how we got life. And then if you can imagine just focusing on God breathing in through your nostrils, going all the way into your belly, screw the lungs, it's going down into the belly and real slow motion. And watch that breath come up from your belly in real slow motion and out of your mouth.
That's not a normal breathing practice. I
No,
breathe
it isn't.
in and out through my nose.
Yeah, everyone does. Everyone does. And some people just breathe in through the mouth and out through the mouth. And so it's not a normal practice, but it's a practice of an exercise that you can do that will eliminate. You'll see that as you do it, you won't have any thought of it, of the other, because you're receiving life within you, and there's no inferior to that. And it almost like supplants. It plants another understanding within you, which gives you a greater authority from within you, because you're breathing the breath of God and you're speaking it out through your mouth. The breath is coming from your mouth where you speak your word. And you'll see that if you wonder about what is the word, it's the authority that you carry within you, that you're controlling your body, your environment, and there's no room to feel lesser than.
Well, I feel lesser than a pack of coyotes because I run from them.
I don't blame you. I don't blame you. I would too.
Okay.
I think it's an awakening that we have, that we find out that there's really nothing to be afraid of. No different than what I said earlier about the going into a dark closet. It's fearful in there. And then as soon as you flick on that switch within you, where does the darkness goes? There's only clarity then.
Well, I've heard teachers say that we need to bring everything that's in our subconscious into the light. And also I
Good
tried
luck.
that. I tried that because that was
Yeah.
the thought that I went to bed with. And I don't know where I was during the night, but I woke up feeling like I would go insane.
Now,
Now,
now you've seen it in that way.
uh-huh.
Now try seeing it another way. If you go and see, I believe that they were talking about the unconscious. And so let's say if it's the subconscious, which is uh, our, it's almost like a communion we have with God in the subconscious, if we can perceive of it that way. So go into your subconscious and bring up everything consciously.
Well,
What
that
would
would be every bad news article I've ever read in my life, or everything
that's eating you away in
being
your unconscious.
being
It's
burned
waiting.
at the stake in another lifetime.
Yeah. And but then you can even see it as in your unconscious and with your subconscious, which is the cord you have with God. Perceive of it that way. And one teacher told you one thing, another teacher is going to tell you something else. You choose what you want to accept. Each thing that you do, exercise that you have, where is it coming from? Uh, what source? Your source is God. It has unconditional love for you.
I know that.
Unconditional.
I know that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's waiting for us always to recognize, taking all the situations that are disturbing us, and it's almost like transposing them into something more real. the more real we find is simpler than the destructive.
This is a reminder.
Does that make sense? Yeah.
Sorry.
And so that's fine. And so take what you're getting from another person and try it another way and see what kind of result you get from that. And you get to choose which way you want to do it and what feels better for you. I'll tell you something, Kathy. We're born to do three things and combinations thereof. One is to control another person.
Pardon?
All right, Kathy.
Could you say that again, Mark? I'm sorry. We're born to control another person?
We're born to control another person, or we're born
to control ourselves.
No, can I finish?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. You're only perceiving part of it. We're born to control another person, or we're born to have another person to control us, or it's all born into the mind, or we're born into the mind of controlling another person that they can control us. We get to choose what flavor of life we want, or we get to recognize that and be ourselves.
But which self?
The true self.
Mm-hmm.
The cell within the mind of God that we are of and in.
Thank you.
Sure. We either control someone or they control us, or we're controlling them to control us.
And we've planned our lives before we come here.
Well, that's what the soul does. It takes us into these situations to finally recognize.
Yeah.
And thank God we can, if we choose. That's being the real you, whoever you is. That's being real. And that's admirable in other people who are themselves. And we get to choose to be that way more and more of our life as we recognize these little dynamics that we think are huge in our life. So where your sister is, there doing her thing, and you think that you're demeaned or intimidated, it's something we admire things in other people that are also admirable within us, but we haven't recognized yet. We also are have judgment of other people in all different ways, and hate people or hate situations of other people or whatever, because we don't recognize there's some aspect of that within ourselves as well. We haven't recognized yet. But it's not to be hated, it's to be recognized. That's why things are presented to us in the first place, if we can be conscious of those things. And
okay.
show me a perfect person, I'll follow them anywhere, including myself.
Most things don't matter much, and some things don't matter at all.
I hear you. I hear you, Kathy.
It's easy
right
to say, but hard to realize.
Yeah. I know. And sometimes the things we hate about other people, we get to say, where did I learn that? Or where did I experience a similarity to that about myself? And I wonder what that similarity is, we can even ask.
It's being human.
Cool. You rock, Kathy. And everything you're saying, it's about me too. You know, I hear you.
I've been working on grief, and
Cool.
one thing I read that was helpful about grief is, yeah, it's not a straight line. It's not linear.
Nope.
It There's no finish line.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean that sounds good to me. There's no finish line.
That's right. What does
Uh,
that mean to you? No finish line.
uh, well, it's
Just
never the
curious.
end of the story.
That's right. That's right.
I hear
Yeah.
hear that most mostly from you. It's never the end of the story.
I hear you.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mark.
Thank you, hon. Sue, any questions? Miss Susan?
I don't have any questions. I did along the way, but they got answered. But I have some comments.
Please,
Uh,
please.
just while you're talking, I was thinking about how, like, you have some stressful situation that you have to, that you want to do something about. And instead of feeling stressful about it, I could possibly think of it's like, the soul just gave me a gift.
How so?
Well,
Oh,
because
you mean recognizing the stress?
recognizing it that,
Yeah.
oh, here's one of those situations that if I face it and do something differently than I might have done in the past, that it's like a gift. I mean, when I look back at things in my life, that's how it is. In the end, in the middle of it, it's not very nice, you know. But when it's over, I think, wow, I got something out of that, and I wouldn't undo it.
Yeah. We're actually witnessing something that's really a joyful occasion and for us to be thankful for if we can get to that place of recognizing that. Yeah. And the stresses, uh, you know, they're there for us to stop ourselves and flick on that switch and recognize how much it adores us, how much it loves us. That's eventually where we want to come to in some way. And the more we do that, the more we practice it, the more difficult it will get to do that and practice that. But then all of a sudden something breaks and there's a ease into it and where it becomes a part of us naturally. But we still have to go back to the place of desiring that to happen. We find ourselves more in the mind of the divinity, the godliness, because it wants to share with us. That's all it knows to do is to give and to create. That's all divinity knows. That's all God knows. That's all the creator knows is to give. And when it gives, it's unconditional. That's all it knows to do. And in that unconditional, we're in admiration of it because we want to identify with it in some way or another. God is love. It's all creation. It's unconditional giving. And that's what we're striving to do in our life is the unconditional giving in adoration of it. The more often we do it, initially it's difficult. It's harder than all hell. And it's a tough path to follow. But once we start doing it, we find that then we can do it. Initially, something grandiose is shared with us when we're on a path. And we're saying, oh my God, I got my prayer answered, and this is happening, and that's happening in my life. But then we go back to the old patterns, but we have a choice in those patterns. Do I want to go back to this, or do we think that it's impossible to obtain that consciousness, that mind? And if we can get over ourselves with that, because then we're thinking that you were doing it. Oh, is this impossible to get now? I got it before, it happened before, but we find conflict. But if we can get over the conflict, the reactions, or the self-edifications, then we find that we didn't do anything. It was given freely. And then it starts to happen more when we realize we're not in control. That's when the spirit moves. The spirit carries activity, like the old days. Spirit of 76. Everyone felt something. It was something that was happening in the experience of something. Or the spirit moved across the waters and brought life. It's carrying activity. That's what the spirit does. The Holy Spirit carries activity. It moves through people. It's carrying something. So we can participate in that by realizing that it's not us. We're reliant upon something of a greater source. And that creates a humility, which I lack in many ways. But I mean, I even had a teacher tell me one time that, Brother Mark, you are one of the most unhumble people I've ever met, but that's okay. He said, that's okay. You keep doing what you're doing. And every day I would come home telling great stories, but he actually told me that too.
The stories are helpful.
Yeah, the stories are helpful. Oh boy. But it creates a great humility deep within us as we're wondering about something or as we want to know about something instead of injecting our own take on things or our own conclusions of things or our own manipulations of things. That's what derails us for the time. And we're here to recognize those derailments. We're here to recognize them. And they can change at the twinkling of an eye. Cool. Cool. I hope that almost answers your question, or I don't remember
I
what it
didn't
was.
really have a question. It was a
Oh,
comment. So it was a
comment.
great addition to my comment.
Cool. Good. Thank God. You charge me more later. But
That makes me think of Socrates and what he said about uh, the one thing I know is I know nothing, and and I think some people take that to mean a kind of anti-intellectualism,
mm-mm.
but it's really what you're talking about. I know nothing, and I want to know it.
Yes.
I want to know what I don't know.
Yes. And the key to that is wondering
Right,
versus the knowing
exactly.
or figuring it all out.
Yeah, and it brings me back to that brother with the chronic cold, where it
Good
caught
old
the
David. Yeah.
yeah the teacher said what he said, and it made David wonder about it, and the power of that wonder broke the loop.
Yeah. Shocked him, brought him to a reality.
Yeah, got him outside of himself, outside of the pattern, outside of the
Yep.
habit or whatever.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah, to that observation point.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we find that all these activities that we're practicing, even though that we don't think that we're getting anywhere with them, all of a sudden we find ourselves communicating these things with other people.
Hmm.
And that's the spirit of activity moving through.
Hmm.
And say, wow, that was great, And when we look back, or we're shaking afterwards.
Hmm. It makes me wonder how much, even of pain is we recreate it as we're experiencing it.
What do you mean?
Well, I'm thinking in terms of your loop, you know, like you like the way you learned when you discovered when you learned how to have this stomach ache, and when you did that, then it healed it because you broke the loop because
Yes. I
because
gave it a
then
chance to heal.
yeah, but I'm thinking we keep these things aloft uh, by keeping them aloft. We
Sure.
continually recreate the condition because that's the pattern, that's the habit, that's what,
Yeah. See,
yeah.
another thing of that, we're born in these bodies And these bodies have fallibilities. Uh, every enzyme, a particular enzyme take, has at least 1,000 potential defects in a single enzyme. A potential 1,000 defects that we can take on later in life, like various diseases or ailments or all kinds of things, uh, whatever, and or thin skin, you name it. And but in our lives, most of those defects won't happen. It's just some of those that are more potentiated will happen.
Mm-hmm.
And so uh, we have an opportunity to eradicate a lot of those few left that we have a greater potential for, to eradicate them through creative thinking. That's why I like to say I learned so much when I'm writing my workshops, and that gives me my creative side versus relying on something else. That's just me. And
Mm-hmm.
so uh, doing that, it enhances uh, the evolution or the growth of me for various dynamics, various things. And so it eradicates some of those potentials. Because if I'm teaching it, I better live it to varying degrees. And some things, I'll teach and I love flaw within myself. I really do. I enjoy it. So I get to screw up a lot, or I get to go back to some old ways. Everyone has addictive behavior patterns of doing some things. I love mine. I love my coffee. I love my sugar, you know, and it's great. It's what keeps me alive, I tell people.
I
And
call them rituals.
there you go. And I have caffeine, nicotine, and sugar, my addictions of life.
Mm-hmm.
So, and so, and I don't want to give them up, I'm enjoying them. So we have these things that could be a downfall, but as we see it less as a downfall, they may not affect us as gravely as they would maybe someone else who has those enzymes with those potential defects. And some things in life will end up with of those defects, but it won't be 1,000 of them by any means. Might be a couple out of those. Yeah, good questions, good points. Good points. Anything else I can try to talk about a little bit? Anything you can think of?
I have another comment.
Yay!
I find it very funny that you're talking about soul because I came here thinking that I wanted to ask you to talk more about the soul. So I thought, you're reading my mind here. What happened?
Any particular venue of that I can try
Well,
to go
no,
into?
no, it's just that it seems like I'm going to different classes and even your workshop. It seems like this is the topic that's been coming up. And so
Yeah.
I I just
Yeah.
wanted to hear more because in like your workshop, you didn't necessarily talk about the soul directly a lot.
Yeah, the soul, it has for every incarnation that we have, uh, it's almost like a genre that it wants to follow. And the genre is brought up in all different scenarios throughout our life. And say if we, oh, I don't want to see that. I don't want to talk about that if we do that, or if someone's presenting something to us. I don't want to go there. So it's the soul is going to present it in another way. It'll be very gentle or dramatic in the way that it does present it, until we start to stop ourselves and say, okay, I'll look at it And I'm not going to get emotional over it. I'm not going to be reactive over it, which is emotional. And if we're reactive or emotional, that means it's been our experience. And so the idea, in my understanding, is to stop ourselves and, why not work it out now? That's working it out by stopping ourselves. Where did I learn this? Or what does this have to do with me? I wonder. Both questions, they're questions of something we don't know about that we want to know more of, or it's so deeply hidden within us that we want to know more about it. Where is it coming from? And so we'll address it. Then we find ourselves, ironically, having less of a reaction of that because it's not so relevant anymore. And the rest of it, the residue of it will start to dissipate over time because it doesn't, and nothing's giving it any more life. Souls, it's interesting. We all have it. And we also have what the audience needs, an oversoul of all mankind going through similarities. Made simple, I'm explaining it. But we all have this information within us, and it's waiting to be recognized, recognized of something that we learned versus the reality of what we've learned.
That's an interesting difference, the reality versus
Yeah.
it's like what we think we learned and what's reality. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. And we get to experience that when we say, where did I learn this from? How did I know this, or whatever genre you come from?
Yeah. What a powerful question.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I had a friend that said
What?
that he was a parrot, that all he did was repeat what he read or heard. That's all he was, a parrot.
Did he know it?
I have to agree with him. I'm just a parrot.
There you go. That's what we all are, to varying degrees. We get our information from somewhere, don't we?
Yeah.
Right on, Kathy.
I like
right
that.
On. So do I.
This reminds me of something in my past, and maybe I still do it, who knows? But when I was younger, I didn't get very reactive, and people would get reactive for me. It's like, say I did something that was embarrassing to them, but I was fine with it. It's like, well, everybody makes mistakes. So why should I be embarrassed? And I remember them coming up to me and saying, I was embarrassed for you, because they expected me to be embarrassed and I wasn't.
Right.
And it made them uncomfortable. And I could say that about other emotions too. I just picked that one. And I remember this a lot in my life. And then I learned to pretend like I'm feeling, even though I'm like, well, why should I feel it? I don't need to.
They do.
They do.
Yes. Very important. And we're always attracted to people that, in one way, people are always attracted to us and what they admire about us, but they don't realize that yet. But they don't know how to recognize that yet. Again, this goes the same thing with the people who have snide comments to us or want to demean us in some way or another, or say something that's digging in some way or another, or bring emotions out in some way or another. It's really about themselves. That's why they're recognizing that in you. And it's not really you. In a sense, you're born into the innocence if that's what your reactions were. And people are in admiration of that, and they don't know how to grasp it within themselves. That, what you're saying, is a closeness with God, unrecognized, which is lovely. I admire that.
But I'm still, to some degree, learning how to not pretend like I'm feeling things for other people's sake, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
In some sense, you're also uh, realizing how to fit into the world.
Yeah. Mhm.
So it doesn't matter. Huh. So there.
To thine own self be true, Sue.
Right on, Kathy. Right on.
It makes me think that joy maybe kept you from having to feel like you were experiencing what the emotions that other people were feeling. I don't need to experience those because you were like,
It wasn't that I wasn't experiencing
Right.
them. It's just I feel a flash of it, and then it's like, well, I move beyond it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
like feeling embarrassed because I tripped or something. I feel it for a
Yeah.
second, and then I'm like, well, everybody trips. I don't care.
It wasn't the
yeah,
joy that kept you from it.
Yeah,
You were in the joy.
exactly. Yeah, that's how I felt.
yeah,
And
that's
I
what I
felt
meant.
like
Yeah.
people were envious of me, and I actually stopped
Yeah.
expressing it because it felt like
Because you
my
felt like you
perspective, it
didn't
felt
fit
like I was,
into the world.
yeah, I felt like I was hurting people by just being
People were
happy.
talking you into that
Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. Yeah.
when they're talking about themselves.
Yeah.
How funny. When someone says something to us that's contradictory to making us feel good, they're saying it about themselves. They don't know how to present themselves in a clean, clear way. Otherwise, we would only see the pleasantness, the goodness in people, the divinity, the godliness. Boy, what a different world that might be if all of us got into that. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Well,
Wouldn't that be fun?
I still like to curse out the guy behind me driving this on my bumper, but
Well, of course.
but there's a truth to that. There's a truth. And we get to be ourselves. We get to, in the old days, out of Vietnam, I only learned how to curse. Every other word out of my mouth was a curse word until, you know, I, I started recognizing that through various things. And, but till today, and even in those exercises that I had that helped me to recognize that, I only ended up cursing, I think, 1 to 5 times in a day in my head, in my thinking, or out of my mouth. And the teacher said, "Hey, you want to get rid of uh, one more day worth of this exercise?" I said, "Hell no, I want to keep it." So I kept up to 1 to 5 words every single day ever since then, instead of every other word out of my mouth being a curse word. You know, I like some patterns in me. I think they're fun. So, I'm conscious of them. I
And I
try to
guess that's
be.
what's happening with me is being conscious of it when I'm
Yeah.
feeling this expectation to behave a certain way.
Yeah. That's the
But I don't want
world's,
to.
the mind's pressure
Mm.
to turn you dark again, or not dark, but subservient.
Mhm.
That's a no-way street. And then they're going to, anyone who goes with that subservience, uh, they're going to chew up and spit you out and just go on to someone else. The world. That's the world that you weren't born into, but you participate in. And you think sometimes that, oh, I'd like to be like other people.
Yeah. Sometimes.
Yeah, sometimes. How interesting. Yeah. And I know this from my experience too. Been there, done that, and still do it.
Well, maybe I can only do it 5 times a day. And say, okay, I've used up my limit.
Kudos to you. If you can do it 5 times a day, choose the times you want to do it. Yeah.
I bet there's an app for that.
Hey, why not?
Oh, I
Why
have
not?
5 fingers. Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah, count them on fingers and toes. That's right. That's what I did. But the third day it was history. Except for those 1 to 5 times.
I think one is enough now that I hear myself say it. 5 is a bit too much. Once, maybe even once a week. That's good.
You rock. You rock. Kathy, anything else? Anything you can think of, hon?
No, not at the moment. Thank you, Mark.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Awesome. And Sue, anything else, hon? Nada?
No,
Or
thank you.
you're not being a chicken liver?
No.
Michael, anything?
No, this has been great, Mark. Really enjoyed it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Every other week, uh, sign up for it on or register for it, anyone. Uh, it's going to be different every single week or every other week. It's going to be different.